The shuttle's engines screamed as Jake Morrison fought with the controls. Red warning lights flashed across every screen in the cockpit. The small ship shook violently as it fell through the thin atmosphere of the ice moon below. Come on, Jake muttered through gritted teeth. He pulled hard on the steering stick, trying to level out the shuttle's nose. The ground rushed up at him fast, too fast. Jake was a good pilot. He had flown dozens of missions across human space, but right now, skill meant nothing. The shuttle's main engine was dead. The backup power was failing. All he could do was try to find a safe place to crash. The moon's surface was nothing but ice and snow. Sharp mountains stuck up like broken teeth. Deep valleys cut through the frozen wasteland. Jake scanned the area ahead, looking for flat ground. There. A wide valley between two ridges. It looked smooth enough. Jake aimed the shuttle toward it and held his breath. The ship hit the ground hard. Jake's teeth rattled as the shuttle bounced and skidded across the ice. Metal screamed against frozen rock. Sparks flew past the windows. The shuttle spun sideways and slammed into a snowbank. Then everything was quiet. Jake sat in his pilot seat, breathing hard. His whole body ached. Blood ran down his forehead from a cut above his eye. But he was alive. He looked around the cockpit. Half the screens were dark. The other half showed red warning symbols. The hull was cracked in 3 places. Cold air leaked in through the gaps. Jake unbuckled his harness and stood up slowly. Every muscle hurt. He walked to the back of the shuttle to check his gear. The emergency beacon was smashed. The radio was dead. His only way to call for help was gone. Well, that's just great, Jake said to the empty shuttle. He put on his survival suit and checked the heater. The small power unit showed half charge. In the extreme cold of this moon, that would last maybe 6 hours. After that, he would freeze to death. Jake grabbed his emergency pack and stepped outside. The cold hit him like a punch to the face. Even through his heated suit, he could feel the freezing air trying to get in. His breath came out in white clouds that froze instantly and fell to the ground as ice crystals. The moon was entering its night cycle. Jake could see the local sun setting behind the mountains. Soon it would be completely dark, and much, much colder. He walked around his crashed shuttle, looking at the damage. The main engine was destroyed. The fuel tank was empty. Even if he could call for rescue, he had no way to take off again. Jake set up his emergency shelter next to the shuttle. It was just a small tent with basic heating. Not much protection against the brutal cold of this world. He crawled inside and checked his supplies. Water for 3 days. Food bars for a week. But that didn't matter. His suit heater was already showing lower power. In a few hours, the cold would kill him. Jake tried to stay calm. He was trained for situations like this. But training was different from reality. Out here, alone on a frozen moon, death felt very close. He pulled out his survival manual and read the section about extreme cold. Keep moving to stay warm. Find shelter from the wind. Conserve body heat. All good advice, but it wouldn't help when his suit died. The temperature was dropping fast as night came. Jake's breath fogged up inside his helmet. Ice began forming on the tent walls. He turned up his heater to maximum, knowing it would drain the battery faster. Hours passed. Jake dozed fitfully, waking up every time the tent shook in the wind. His heater was down to 20% power. Soon it would be gone. He was thinking about his family back on Earth when he heard something outside. Footsteps in the snow, heavy ones. Jake grabbed his sidearm and peered through the tent flap. In the moonlight, he saw a shadow moving toward him. A big shadow, much bigger than a human. The figure came closer. Jake could see it clearly now. It stood nearly 8 feet tall. Its body was covered in scales that reflected the pale light. 2 arms, 2 legs, but definitely not human. Definitely alien. The creature stopped 10 feet from Jake's tent. It tilted its head and made a sound like clicking metal. Then it spoke. The voice was deep and rough, but the words were in English. "Human, you are dying from cold." Jake's hand tightened on his weapon. He had heard stories about hostile aliens in this region of space, but he was too cold and tired to run. "Yeah," he called back. "Probably." The alien moved closer. Jake could see its face now. Large golden eyes, a mouth full of sharp teeth. But it didn't look angry or threatening. It looked almost curious. "Your heating device is failing," the alien said. Its English was broken but clear. "You will freeze when it stops." "I know," Jake replied. What else could he say? The alien was quiet for a moment. Then it made that clicking sound again. "I am Zara. I am warrior of the Cathari people. You are enemy of my kind." Jake's blood went cold. Not from the temperature this time. "Are you going to kill me?" "No," Zara said. "I do not kill the helpless. But I cannot let you die from cold either. This brings shame to my honor." The alien warrior stepped closer to the tent. "I have solution, but you will not like it." "What kind of solution?" Zara's golden eyes met his through the tent opening. "Sleep with me or you will freeze. My body makes heat. Together we survive the night. Apart, you die." Jake stared at the alien. 8 feet tall, covered in scales, armed with weapons he didn't recognize. This was possibly the strangest offer he had ever received, but his suit heater was down to 10%. He could already feel the cold creeping in. In an hour, maybe less, he would be dead. "Why would you help me?" Jake asked. "You said I'm your enemy." "Because," Zara replied, "letting you freeze is not victory. It is waste." Jake looked at his suit's power display. 8%. 7. The numbers dropped as he watched. His breath was already forming ice inside his helmet. "Okay," he said finally. "What do you want me to do?" Zara moved to the side of his tent. "Come out. Bring your sleeping gear. We go to my shelter." Jake packed his sleeping bag and emergency blanket with numb fingers. His whole body was shaking from the cold now. Each breath hurt his lungs. He crawled out of the tent and stood up on unsteady legs. The alien warrior was even bigger up close. Her scales were dark blue with silver edges. She wore some kind of armor made from metal and leather. 3 weapons hung from her belt. But she wasn't pointing any of them at him. "Follow," Zara said. She turned and walked toward a cluster of rocks about 50 yards away. Jake stumbled after her through the deep snow. His legs felt like they were made of lead. The cold was winning. His suit heater gave a final beep and died. Instantly, the freezing air cut through his clothes like knives. Jake gasped and fell to his knees. The cold was so intense it felt like burning. He couldn't feel his fingers anymore. Zara looked back and saw him collapse. She moved fast for something so large. In 3 quick steps, she reached him and lifted him off the ground. Her hands were warm through his suit. "Almost there," she said. "Do not give up now." She half carried, half dragged him to the rocks. Hidden between 2 large boulders was a small cave. Zara had set up some kind of shelter inside. Jake saw thick blankets and what looked like a heating device. Zara pulled him into the cave and sealed the entrance with a heavy cloth. Immediately, the wind stopped cutting through his clothes, but he was still freezing. "Remove your outer suit," Zara ordered. "What?" Jake's teeth were chattering so hard he could barely speak. "Your suit is dead. It only traps cold air now. Take it off." Jake tried to work the fasteners with his frozen fingers. He couldn't make them move. Zara stepped closer and started removing his gear herself. Her movements were quick but careful. "You humans are very weak against cold," she said as she pulled off his helmet. "How do you survive on ice worlds?" "We use better heaters," Jake managed to say. "Mine broke in the crash." Zara removed the rest of his suit, leaving him in just his base layer clothes. Jake felt colder than ever. His whole body shook uncontrollably. "Lie down," Zara pointed to a pile of thick blankets. On your side. Jake didn't argue. He crawled under the blankets and curled up in a ball. But the cold was deep in his bones now. The blankets weren't enough. Zara took off her armor and weapons. Underneath, she wore a simple cloth outfit. Her scales covered her arms and legs like natural armor. She moved to the blankets and lay down behind Jake. This will feel strange, she warned, but it will save your life. Zara wrapped her arms around Jake from behind. Instantly, he felt warmth spreading through his body. Her scales were warm to the touch. Not just warm, hot, like lying next to a furnace. Jake stopped shaking. The terrible cold began to fade from his hands and feet. For the first time since his heater died, he could think clearly. "How are you so warm?" he asked. "My people evolved on a cold world," Zara explained. Her voice was right next to his ear. "We can control our body heat, make it higher when we need to." "That's amazing," Jake said. He was starting to feel human again. "What's your world like?" "Keth Prime has long winters, ice storms that last for months. My ancestors learned to generate heat or they died." Zara shifted slightly, making sure he stayed warm. "What about your world?" "Earth. It's mostly warm. We have ice at the poles, but most places are comfortable for us." Jake realized how strange this conversation was. Here he was, sharing body heat with an alien warrior who could have killed him. Instead, she was saving his life. "Why are you helping me?" Zara was quiet for a moment. "My people have a code. We do not kill the helpless. We do not let enemies die without honor. You crashed here by accident. Letting you freeze would be shameful." "But we're enemies?" "Our leaders say so. They tell us humans are dangerous, that you destroy everything you touch." Zara's arms tightened around him slightly. "But you do not seem dangerous. You seem like a person who got lost." Jake thought about that. He was a scout pilot. His job was to map new systems and look for resources. Maybe to the aliens. That looked like preparation for invasion. "We're explorers," he said. "We want to learn about new worlds, meet new people. We don't want to destroy anything." "That is what you say. But your ships come closer to our territory every year. Your colonies grow larger. To us, it looks like you want to take our space." Jake had never thought about it from the alien point of view. To them, human expansion probably did look threatening. "We didn't know anyone lived out here. Our long-range sensors never detected your worlds." "Because we hide them," Zara said. "We learned long ago to shield our planets from outside detection. Too many dangerous things travel between the stars." They lay in silence for a while. Jake felt completely warm now. His body had stopped aching from the cold. Outside the shelter, wind howled across the ice. But inside, with Zara's heat surrounding him, he felt safe. "What's your name?" Zara asked suddenly. "Jake Morrison, lieutenant in the Earth Survey Corps." "Jake," she repeated, trying out the sound. "It is a simple name. I like simple names." "Zara is nice too. It sounds almost human. Many of our words sound like yours. Perhaps our peoples are not so different." Zara shifted again, getting more comfortable. "Tell me about your family, Jake Morrison." "I have parents back on Earth. A sister, she's a teacher." Jake smiled, thinking about home. "What about you? Do you have family?" "I have a bondmate, Kren. He is also a warrior, and I have 2 hatchlings. They are learning to hunt and fight." "Hatchlings?" "Children. Young ones. Your word would be kids?" "Yeah, kids. How old are they?" 12 seasons and 8 seasons. Old enough to start training, but still very young." There was pride in Zara's voice when she talked about them. "They ask many questions. They want to know about everything." "Sounds like human kids," Jake said with a laugh, always curious about the world. Perhaps all young ones are the same, no matter their species. Jake was getting sleepy. The warmth and exhaustion from the crash were catching up with him, but he didn't want to stop talking. This might be the most important conversation in human history. First real contact between their species. Zara, what happens in the morning, when I'm not freezing anymore? I do not know, she admitted. My patrol will look for me eventually. Your people will look for you. When they find us. It might not go well, Jake finished. No, it might not. Our peoples are afraid of each other. Fear makes people do stupid things. Jake nodded against her shoulder. Fear did make people do stupid things. But maybe understanding could fix that. If he and Zara could survive the night together, maybe they could find a way to make their peoples understand each other too. Get some sleep, Jake Morrison, Zara said softly. Tomorrow we will worry about tomorrow. Jake closed his eyes and let the warmth carry him toward sleep. Outside, the alien moon grew colder and darker. But inside their small shelter, a human and an alien kept each other alive through the longest night of their lives. Jake woke up to the sound of wind screaming outside the shelter. He was still warm, still pressed against Zara's scaled back. Through the entrance cloth, he could see white snow flying sideways. Storm, Zara said without moving. She had been awake for a while. Big one. We cannot travel today. Jake sat up slowly. His body felt much better after a night of warmth and rest. How long will it last? 2 days, maybe 3. Zara turned to face him. Her golden eyes looked worried. My people will not search for me in this weather. Yours will not either. Jake looked around their small cave. It was maybe 10 feet wide and 6 feet deep. Enough space for 2 people, but it would get cramped fast. Do we have enough supplies? Some. I have field rations for several days. Water tablets. But we will need to be careful. Zara reached for a pack near the wall. I also have emergency equipment. We can improve this shelter. Over the next hour, they worked together to make their hiding place more comfortable. Zara had a small heating unit that ran on some kind of battery cell. Jake rigged a ventilation system using parts from his damaged suit. They arranged the blankets and gear to give each of them some private space. You are good with machines, Zara observed as Jake finished adjusting the airflow. Your hands work fast. Part of my training. Pilots have to fix things when they break. Jake tested the ventilation one more time. What about you? Are all your people warriors? No. I chose the warrior path when I was young. Others become builders or teachers or food growers. Zara opened a package of what looked like dried meat. But all of us learn basic fighting. Our world has dangerous creatures. She offered him some of the meat. Jake took a piece and chewed it carefully. It tasted like beef, but spicier. Not bad at all. What kind of dangerous creatures? Ice bears, tunnel snakes, rock wolves. They hunt in packs and can break through most barriers. Zara ate her own piece of meat slowly. When I was a hatchling, a pack of rock wolves attacked our village. 3 warriors died fighting them off. That sounds terrifying. It was. But it taught me why we need warriors. Someone must protect those who cannot protect themselves. Jake thought about that while they ate. On Earth, most dangerous animals were small or rare. Humans had conquered their world so completely that they rarely faced real physical threats anymore. Maybe that was why they had become explorers, looking for new challenges among the stars. On my world, we don't have creatures like that anymore, he said. We're the most dangerous thing around. That explains much about humans, Zara replied. You are not used to being prey. You think like hunters. Is that bad? Not bad, but it makes you confident, maybe too confident. You explore new worlds without knowing what lives there. Jake had to admit she was right. Human exploration was pretty bold, sometimes recklessly so. They sent small ships to unknown systems all the time just to see what they could find. The storm continued to howl outside. Jake tried his communicator again, but got nothing except static. The ice and wind were blocking all signals. "Tell me about your ship," Zara said. "The one that crashed. Is it a war vessel?" "No, just a scout ship. One person, basic equipment, designed for mapping and surveys." Jake pulled out his mission pad and showed her the star charts. "I was supposed to check 3 systems in this area and report back." Zara studied the charts carefully. "These are very detailed. You know much about our space. We map everything we can reach. It's how we learn about the galaxy." Jake pointed to different systems on the chart. "Some have planets suitable for human life. Others have resources we need. A few have signs of intelligent life. Like mine. Like yours. But we don't always know if that life is friendly or hostile." Zara traced the routes between systems with one clawed finger. "Your people travel far from home, much farther than mine do. We stay close to our core worlds. Why? Safety. The galaxy has many dangers. Better to be strong in a small area than weak across a large one." Jake nodded. It was a different philosophy than humanity's. Humans spread out to reduce risk. If one colony was destroyed, others would survive. The aliens concentrated their power for defense. "Maybe that's why our peoples misunderstand each other," he said. "We have different ideas about safety." "Perhaps." Zara folded up the star chart and handed it back. "Your way requires much courage, or much foolishness." "Probably both," Jake admitted. As the day went on, they talked about their worlds, their families, their hopes for the future. Jake learned that Zara's people valued honor above almost everything else. They believed in protecting the weak and keeping their word no matter the cost. Zara learned that humans valued freedom and discovery. They were willing to take risks for the chance to learn something new or find a better life. "We are not so different," Zara said as they shared an evening meal. "Both our peoples want to protect what they love. The difference is what we think threatens us," Jake replied. "You see human expansion as a threat to your way of life. We see alien hostility as a threat to our exploration." Both fears are reasonable. Both fears might be wrong. That night, they slept on opposite sides of the shelter. Jake's body had recovered from the cold, and Zara's heating unit kept the cave warm enough. But Jake found he missed the comfort of her presence. Sharing warmth with an alien had felt strange at first. Now it felt natural. On the second day of the storm, disaster struck. Jake was working on his communicator when he heard a sound like breaking glass. He looked up to see cracks spreading across the cave ceiling. The storm had been pounding the rocks above them for hours. "Zara!" he shouted. She looked up just as a section of the ceiling collapsed. A chunk of rock the size of a watermelon crashed down toward her head. Jake moved without thinking. He dove across the small cave and tackled Zara sideways. They both hit the ground hard as rocks fell where she had been sitting. When the rumbling stopped, Jake found himself lying on top of the alien warrior. They were both covered in dust and small stones. Zara's golden eyes stared up at him in surprise. "You saved me," she said quietly. "You saved me first," Jake replied. He rolled off her and checked for injuries. "Are you hurt?" "Bruised, but well." Zara sat up and looked at the collapsed section of ceiling. "That could have killed me." "Why do you sound surprised?" "You risked your life for mine. We have known each other only 2 days. And I am your enemy." Jake helped her to her feet. "You're not my enemy anymore. Enemies don't keep each other warm at night." Zara stared at him for a long moment. Then she made that clicking sound he had learned meant she was thinking. "Among my people, saving a life creates a debt. I owed you safety from the cold. Now you have saved my life from the rocks. The debt is reversed. I don't want a debt between us, Jake said. I want partnership. Partnership? Working together, helping each other because we choose to, not because we owe something. Zara considered this. On her world, everything was about honor and debt and obligation. The idea of helping someone just because you wanted to was foreign to her. But as she looked at Jake, dirty and tired but concerned for her safety, she began to understand. This human had not calculated debt or honor when he threw himself into danger to save her. He had simply acted to protect someone he cared about. Partnership, she repeated slowly. Yes, I think I would like that. They spent the rest of the day reinforcing their shelter and talking about what would happen when the storm ended. Both knew their peoples would be searching for them soon. Both knew that first contact between humans and aliens could go very wrong very quickly, but they also knew something their leaders didn't. Despite coming from different worlds, different species, different ways of thinking, they could work together. They could trust each other. They could even care about each other's safety. If they could do it, maybe their peoples could too. The storm began to die down on the third day. Through gaps in the clouds, Jake could see the pale sun breaking through. Soon it would be time to face whatever came next. But he was no longer facing it alone. The storm ended just after dawn on the third day. Jake and Zara stood at the entrance to their shelter, looking out at a world transformed by ice and wind. Fresh snow covered everything in a smooth white blanket. The air was still and crystal clear. Beautiful, Jake said, breathing vapor clouds in the cold air. And dangerous, Zara added. Now both our peoples will come looking. She was right. Within an hour, they spotted the first ship, a dark speck moving across the sky from the north. Zara pulled out a small device that looked like a telescope and studied it. Cathari patrol vessel, she announced. 3 crew, armed. Jake felt his stomach tighten. Are they looking for you? Yes. I was supposed to report back 2 days ago. Zara collapsed her telescope and put it away. They will land soon. What will you tell them about me? Zara was quiet for a moment. The truth, that you saved my life, that you are not the enemy our leaders believe you to be. Will they listen? Thane Rokhtar leads this patrol. He is difficult. He believes all aliens are threats to be eliminated. Zara checked her weapons and armor. But he respects the warrior code. If I claim protection for you, he cannot simply kill you. Jake hoped she was right. He had seen what Cathari weapons could do when Zara showed them to him. They were definitely advanced enough to turn him into dust in seconds. The alien ship landed about a mile away, in a flat area between 2 ice ridges. It was sleek and angular, with engines that glowed blue-white even after shutdown, much more advanced than Jake's crashed shuttle. Stay behind me, Zara instructed as they walked toward the landing site. Let me speak first. Do not make sudden movements. 3 Cathari emerged from the ship as they approached. They were all tall and scaled like Zara, but their armor was different, more elaborate, with more weapons. The leader was even bigger than Zara, with darker scales and scars across his arms and face. Zara Veltak, the leader called out in their clicking language. You are late. I encountered difficulties, War Chief Thane, Zara replied in the same language. Then she switched to English. This human saved my life. I claim protection for him under warrior law. Thane's golden eyes fixed on Jake. The alien commander looked him up and down like he was studying an interesting bug. When he spoke, his English was better than Zara's. A human, in our territory, carrying weapons and mapping equipment. Thane stepped closer to Jake. You are a spy. I'm a scout pilot, Jake replied, trying to keep his voice steady. My ship crashed during a survey mission. Zara found me and saved me from freezing to death. Convenient story. Thane turned to Zara. Why do you protect this invader? Because he protected me. When rocks fell in our shelter, he threw himself into danger to save my life. He seeks no harm to our people. One of the other Cathari warriors spoke up. War Chief, his ship is nearby. We could examine it to verify his story. Thane nodded. Do so. Look for weapons, long-range communications, evidence of military purpose. While two warriors went to examine Jake's crashed shuttle, Thane continued to question them. He wanted to know everything about Jake's mission, his equipment, his knowledge of Cathari space. Jake answered honestly. He had nothing to hide. His shuttle really was just a survey vessel. His mission really was just mapping. He had no idea there were intelligent aliens in this system until Zara found him. You expect me to believe your people send you into unknown space with no protection? Thane demanded. With no backup? We're explorers, Jake said. We take risks to learn new things. Sometimes those risks don't pay off. Foolish? Maybe. But it's how we learn about the galaxy. The warriors returned from examining the shuttle. Their report seemed to support Jake's story. No military equipment. No weapons beyond a basic sidearm, just mapping gear and survival supplies. Thane considered this information while Jake and Zara waited. The alien commander was clearly suspicious, but he couldn't find evidence that Jake was lying. That's when Jake's communicator crackled to life. Lieutenant Morrison, this is Captain Hayes aboard the New Horizon. Please respond if you can hear this message. Jake looked at Zara, then at Thane. The Cathari commander's hand moved to his weapon. Your people, Thane said. They come for you. Just like yours came for Zara, Jake replied. That's what people do when someone doesn't come home. Jake activated his communicator. Captain Hayes, this is Morrison. I'm alive and uninjured, but I'm not alone. Morrison, thank God, we've been searching for 3 days. What do you mean you're not alone? Jake looked at Zara. She nodded slightly. I've made contact with local inhabitants, Captain. Intelligent life. They saved my life when my shuttle crashed. There was a long pause. Morrison, did you just say you've made first contact? Yes, Captain, and it's complicated. Give me your location. We're coming to extract you. Thane stepped forward and spoke into the communicator. Human vessel, this is War Chief Thane Rocktar of the Cathari Patrol Force. Your pilot is in our custody. Come alone and unarmed, or we will consider your approach an act of war. Another pause. Much longer this time. This is Captain Hayes. We're detecting your ship on our sensors. We're coming in with minimal crew and no offensive weapons. But if you've harmed our pilot... I am unharmed, Jake said quickly. They've treated me well. Captain, this is a chance for peaceful contact. Don't let fear mess this up. Thane cut the communication. Your captain sounds more reasonable than most humans. She's a good officer. She won't start a fight unless you force her to. We shall see. The human ship appeared in the sky 20 minutes later. It was bigger than the Cathari vessel, a sleek corvette designed for long-range missions. It landed about half a mile from the alien ship, in clear view but not close enough to seem threatening. 4 humans emerged from the ship. Jake recognized Captain Lisa Hayes immediately. A tall woman with gray hair and sharp eyes. She wore a standard Earth Fleet uniform with no visible weapons. Behind her came Dr. Frank Chen, the ship's science officer, and 2 security guards who looked alert but not aggressive. The 2 groups approached each other slowly. Jake and Zara walked between them, with Thane and his warriors on one side and Captain Hayes' team on the other. Captain, Jake said as they met in the middle, this is Zara Velthak. She saved my life. Captain Hayes looked at the alien warrior with curiosity rather than fear. Thank you for protecting our pilot. Zara inclined her head slightly. He proved worthy of protection. Thane stepped forward. Human captain, you enter Cathari space without permission. Your pilot carries mapping equipment. You gather intelligence for invasion. War Chief, Captain Hayes replied calmly. We had no knowledge of your territory. Our long-range sensors detected no signs of intelligent life in this system. Lieutenant Morrison's mission was purely scientific. You lie. No, Jake interrupted. Captain, they hide their worlds. Shield them from outside detection. We really didn't know they were here. Dr. Chen stepped forward, clearly excited. This is incredible. First contact with a spacefaring species. The scientific implications alone. Science later, Frank, Captain Hayes said quietly. Diplomacy first. She turned to Thane. War Chief, I understand your suspicion. If unknown aliens appeared near Earth, we'd be suspicious too. But we're not here to invade or conquer. We're explorers. So you say. But your colonies expand toward our space every year. Your ships probe our borders. You seek worlds to take from us. We seek worlds to inhabit, yes, but empty worlds. We have no desire to fight over planets that already have people. Thane laughed harshly. All worlds have people. You simply do not see them. Captain Hayes looked confused. Jake realized the problem. Captain, they don't just live on planets. They live on moons, asteroids, space stations. Everywhere we think is empty. Understanding dawned on the captain's face. We didn't know. Our scans look for technological signatures we recognize. If your technology is different, you would miss us completely, Thane finished, and expand into our territory thinking it was yours for the taking. Jake saw the moment when both sides realized the truth. This wasn't a conflict between good and evil. It was a misunderstanding between two species who thought about space differently. Humans saw empty star systems and wanted to explore them. Aliens saw humans expanding toward their hidden colonies and prepared for war. We can fix this, Jake said suddenly. Both groups turned to look at him. Captain, what if we could share our scanning technology? Show them how our sensors work? And War Chief, what if your people could teach us how to detect your colonies? A technology exchange? Dr. Chen said excitedly. We could learn to see each other properly. And avoid future misunderstandings, Captain Hayes added. Thane considered this. You would share your military secrets with us? Scanning technology isn't military, Captain Hayes replied. It's scientific. We share it with anyone who wants to explore space peacefully. Zara stepped closer to Thane. War Chief, I have observed this human for 3 days. He seeks knowledge, not conquest. Perhaps his people are the same. Or perhaps this is an elaborate trick. Then let us be cautious but not foolish, Zara replied. A technology exchange costs us little but could prevent a war. Thane looked at his warriors, then at the human crew, then at Jake and Zara standing together. Finally, he made that clicking sound that meant he was thinking hard. Very well. We will attempt this exchange, but slowly, carefully, and if you betray us, we won't, Captain Hayes promised. This is too important to mess up. Jake felt hope growing in his chest. This could actually work. First contact didn't have to mean conflict. With patience and understanding, maybe humans and Cathari could become allies instead of enemies. But as he looked at the two groups of armed beings facing each other across the ice, he knew the real work was just beginning. The technology exchange began the next day. Both sides agreed to meet in a temporary shelter built halfway between the two ships. Dr. Chen brought human scanning equipment while one of Thane's warriors, called Tech Warrior Kess, brought Cathari detection devices. Jake and Zara acted as translators, not just for language but for concepts. When Dr. Chen explained how human sensors worked, Jake helped Kess understand the basic ideas. When Kess showed them Cathari stealth technology, Zara helped the humans grasp the principles. Fascinating, Dr. Chen muttered as he examined a Cathari scanner. They use quantum resonance instead of electromagnetic signatures. No wonder we never detected their colonies. Kess studied a human sensor array with equal interest. Your people see much farther than ours do, but you miss what is hidden. We see what is hidden, but cannot see far. Complementary technologies, Captain Hayes observed. Together, they could map the galaxy more completely than either could alone. The work went slowly. Both sides were careful not to share anything that could be used as a weapon, but after 2 days of patient explanation and demonstration, they had made real progress. I believe I understand how to modify our sensors to detect human colonies, Kess announced, and Dr. Chen has shown me how to extend our scanning range significantly. The human sensors can be adjusted to detect our stealth signatures, Dr. Chen agreed. It's actually quite elegant once you understand the physics. Thane watched the exchange with growing amazement. Your people truly share this knowledge freely? Scientific knowledge belongs to everyone, Captain Hayes replied. The more we all understand about the universe, the better off we all are. A strange philosophy. Most species guard their secrets carefully. Most species are probably afraid of being conquered, Jake suggested. But if we share knowledge instead of hoarding it, everyone becomes stronger. Zara nodded slowly. When everyone is strong, no one needs to fear conquest. Idealistic, Thane said, but his tone was thoughtful rather than dismissive. On the 3rd day, their peaceful work was interrupted by an emergency. Kess's scanner detected something moving deep under the ice, something big and heading toward them fast. Thermal worm, Zara said grimly as she checked her weapons. Large one, perhaps drawn by the heat from our ships. What's a thermal worm? Captain Hayes asked. Ice-boring predator, 30 feet long, attacks anything that generates heat. Thane activated his own weapons. Very dangerous. The ground began to shake. Snow jumped and shifted as something massive moved underneath. Then, 50 yards from their shelter, the ice exploded upward. The creature that emerged was like nothing Jake had ever seen. It looked like a giant white snake with rows of spinning teeth along its front end. Heat sensors covered its head like glowing red eyes. It was easily as thick as a tree trunk and longer than both ships combined. Everyone back to the ships, Captain Hayes ordered. But the thermal worm moved faster than anyone expected. It turned toward the human corvette, the largest heat source in the area, and burrowed underground again. It's going for your ship, Zara shouted. If it damages your engines, we'll all be stranded here, Jake finished. The worm burst up again, this time right next to the New Horizon. Its massive body slammed into the ship's landing struts. Metal groaned and bent. The ship tilted sideways as one strut collapsed. Weapons, Thane commanded. His warriors raised their energy rifles and began firing at the creature. The beams burned through its thick hide, but the worm was too big to stop easily. Captain Hayes drew her sidearm and added her fire to theirs. Chen, get to the ship and try to restart the engines. If we can lift off. The damaged strut won't hold, Dr. Chen called back. We need to fix it first. The thermal worm wrapped itself around the ship's hull and began squeezing. More metal groaned. Warning lights flashed on the ship's exterior. Jake saw what needed to be done. Zara, can you and your warriors keep it distracted? I need to get under the ship and fix that strut. Too dangerous. The worm will sense your body heat. Not if I use my emergency cooling system. Jake pulled a small device from his survival kit. This can lower my body temperature enough to make me invisible to heat sensors, but only for about 10 minutes. That might work, Thane said, but if the cooling fails, I know the risks. Jake activated the device and immediately felt his body temperature dropping. Just keep that thing busy. Zara grabbed his arm. Jake, if you die doing this, I won't. We have a partnership. Remember? Partners watch out for each other. She released his arm and raised her rifle. Then go. Quickly. Jake ran toward the damaged ship while the Cathari warriors concentrated their fire on the thermal worm. The creature thrashed and roared, its attention focused on the energy beams hitting its hide. The emergency cooling system worked perfectly. Jake's body temperature dropped so low that the worm couldn't detect him even when he ran directly underneath it. But the cold was intense, worse than his first night on this moon. His movements became slow and clumsy. The ship's landing strut was bent but not broken. Jake could see how to fix it, but he needed tools from the ship's maintenance bay, and his cooling system was already starting to fail. "Dr. Chen," he called into his communicator. "I need a plasma torch from the maintenance locker, portside airlock." "On my way," Chen replied. The scientist emerged from the ship carrying the tools Jake needed, but as he climbed down toward the damaged strut, the thermal worm noticed the new heat source. The creature's head swung toward Chen, rows of spinning teeth gleaming. It released the ship's hull and lunged at the human scientist. "Chen, look out!" Captain Hayes shouted. Zara reacted instantly. She sprinted across the ice and tackled Dr. Chen out of the worm's path. They both rolled away as massive jaws snapped shut where Chen had been standing. But now Zara was in danger. The worm turned toward her, attracted by her body heat. Thane and his warriors couldn't get a clear shot without risking hitting Zara. Jake's cooling system finally failed. His body temperature spiked back to normal, making him visible to the creature's heat sensors again. The thermal worm's head swiveled toward him. "Over here!" Jake yelled, waving his arms. "Come and get me!" The worm forgot about Zara and focused on Jake. It burrowed underground and headed straight for him. Jake could feel the ice shaking under his feet as the massive creature approached. At the last second, Jake dove sideways. The thermal worm burst up through the ice where he had been standing, missing him by inches. Its momentum carried it up and out of the ground, exposing its full length. "Now!" Thane commanded. All the Cathari warriors fired at once. Their concentrated energy beams hit the creature's exposed underbelly, its most vulnerable spot. The thermal worm shrieked and collapsed, twitching once before going still. Jake picked himself up from the ice, shaking from cold and adrenaline. "Is everyone okay?" "Bruised but functional," Dr. Chen reported as Zara helped him stand. "The worm is dead," Thane confirmed. "Well fought, human." Jake looked at the dead creature, then at the damaged ship, then at the mixed group of humans and Cathari who had just fought together to survive. "We did that as a team," he said. "Human and Cathari working together." Captain Hayes nodded slowly. "If we can fight together, maybe we can explore together too." "Perhaps," Thane agreed. "You showed courage, human Jake. You risked your life to save all of us." "Zara risked hers too. And your warriors. That's what people do when they care about each other." Over the next several hours, they worked together to repair the New Horizons landing strut. Cathari engineering knowledge combined with human materials science to create a fix that was better than the original design. "This cooperation is effective," Thane admitted as they finished the repairs. "Our peoples could learn much from each other." "More than just technology," Captain Hayes said. "We could learn different ways of thinking about problems." "What happens now?" Jake asked. "Do our peoples go back to being suspicious of each other?" Thane considered this. "I will report what I have seen to our War Council. Perhaps they will be willing to attempt formal contact." "I'll do the same with Earth Command," Captain Hayes promised. "This is too important to ignore." Zara stepped closer to Jake. "What about us? Will we see each other again?" "I hope so. Someone needs to help our peoples understand each other." "Who better than the two people who survived together on an ice moon?" "Partnership," Zara said with that clicking sound that meant she was pleased. "Partnership," Jake agreed. 3 months later, a joint human Cathari research station was established on the moon where Jake had crashed. The base was built around the cave where he and Zara had first shared warmth and learned to trust each other. Jake was assigned as the human liaison officer. Zara requested transfer from patrol duty to become the Cathari Cultural Exchange Specialist. Together, they worked to prevent the misunderstandings that could lead to war between their species. The station grew over time. Scientists from both species worked together to study the galaxy. Explorers shared maps and navigation data. Engineers designed new technologies that combined human innovation with Cathari durability. Not everything was smooth. There were still people on both sides who feared and distrusted aliens. There were incidents and misunderstandings and heated arguments. But each time conflict threatened, Jake and Zara would tell their story. How two enemies had become partners through shared survival and mutual respect. Jake often thought back to that first night on the ice moon. When Zara had said, "Sleep with me or you'll freeze," she had meant it as simple survival. Neither of them could have predicted that sharing warmth would lead to sharing trust, and sharing trust would lead to two species finding a new path among the stars. The galaxy was vast and full of dangers, but it was also full of opportunities for those brave enough to reach out to strangers and discover that enemies could become friends. And sometimes, friends could change the course of history.